Hey everybody, Cynical Manor here. Today we're in the Hind again, and we're going to be talking about some takeoff and landings. There's two ways to take off in the aircraft. The first thing is going to be a rolling takeoff, and then you've got your hover takeoff, and then of course there's the same way to land, a rolling takeoff like you would do with a conventional aircraft, or you could do a hover or standard way, is what they call it, landing. So the first thing I'm going to show you here is the just the rolling takeoff. So we're going to pull back on the collective here just a little bit. Before I go into that, these here are your indicators for your collective, your cyclic, all that good stuff. These are references, especially in this helicopter. These are references. Only use them for reference. I'm leaving them up because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. When I tried to learn how to fly this thing, I was fixated on this, and all I did was crash. There's a few instruments on the aircraft here that you need. You need your VSI, your hover indicator, and your speed, and your torque, of course, over here. But mostly the VSI is what I use. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to pull back on the cyclic. I know I said collective earlier, and I apologize. Pull back on the cyclic. I'm going to take the brake off. This is just so we don't move. And I'm going to increase torque to about 3. Okay, and I'm going to slowly move her forward using my anti-torque pedals. And she's wanting to do the old wobbles today. I don't know why. So I'm going to keep giving her collective here. And we're just going to feel for it. We're just going to feel it. And look at that. We are up and rolling. And it's as easy as that. Pull up our gear here. So the roll and takeoff is one of the easiest takeoffs. But a lot of times you're at FARPs and things like that, and you can't do a roll and takeoff. So that's why we're going to go into the next portion. Alright, so we're back at our takeoff point here, and this is the second way to take off. So I'm going to pull back on the cyclic, release the brake, that way we're not moving around. I'm going to give her about 3 or so torque. Maybe we'll move her up to about 5. We still don't have enough to lift off, so we're just filling the aircraft out. And we're filling her out, and I'm leaving that up there so you guys can see what I'm doing. Moving forward a little bit, so we'll just pull back some. Yeah, we're going to she's wanting to come up now, so we're going to hover. So we're hovering. And I kind of went over this with the first one. But this is how you hover. Now you've got your hover indicator. It shows we're moving to the forward a little bit. I pulled her back some, so we're just kind of hovering, as you can see. And I got off a little bit because I'm looking at the outside of the aircraft and not on the inside. But we'll just get her stable back out. But I would suggest that you get that and you practice it. Now, to take off, we're just going to give a little more collective. Give her a little right rudder because she's getting more torque, so she's going to go to the left some. And we're going to just inch all forward into flight. So we're getting that good clean air now. We're rising. Give her a little less left on the rudder. Line her back up. Pull the gear. And I'm neutral again. I was looking at the outside of the aircraft, so I get off the runway there. Pull that collective back down. She doesn't need quite as much torque to rise up now. But that's a way to, second way to take off, say you're at a FARP or something like that. Practice those things, because taking off and landing are very important, as in any aircraft. But in the Hind, the hardest thing is a hover landing, or the standard way is what they call it. Alright, so let's talk about landing for a moment. The first way to land would be a standard approach, just like you would in a plane. So what we'll do is we'll be heading towards the runway. We're going to pull back, lower our collective so we're not climbing. We're going to turn on our taxi light, drop our gear, and slow down. Okay. We're going to come in, and this one, depending on your descent, you can actually go up to about 700 feet a second on your VSI. I don't like to do that because it's not going to be a smooth landing. So we're coming in. As you can see, we've got a nose up attitude just like we would in an aircraft. I'm going to give her a little collective. Okay. Trying to bounce her out over the runway. Come in, and we're just lowering the collective. This is going to be a running landing, just like we would in an airplane. I know I said that earlier, but I'm just trying to paint a picture for you. Alright, so we're coming in, we're lined up with the center line somewhat. We're coming over. I'm going to give her a little collective because I only want to be about 1 to 2 meters per second. Coming in, we're going to drop her just a fuzz. And look at that. And we're going to drop our torque down to about 2 to 3. And we're going to keep that back pressure on the cyclic. Using our anti-torque pedals. Slow her down. Okay. And then we can apply the brake. Set it and pull our collective all the way back. Okay, so that's one way to land this aircraft. Alright, so we're back on course for our landing. So we're going to pay attention to the VSI mostly, this gauge right here, so we don't go into that vortex range state. And the one thing about the Hind, it'll start to do a little shake and shimmy to kind of show you what's going on to begin with. So we're going to start pulling back. We're going to go ahead, turn on our landing light, drop our gear. Now, the manual, I believe, says you should drop the gear until 50 knots, but the gear in the Hind is pretty sturdy. So I'm not really worried about it for this demonstration. So we're coming back, we're slowing down. We're at about 200 knots. We're dropping down to about, we're about 160 now. We're going to pull back some more. Now remember, when you're slowing down, you're creating lift. So we're just going to watch that VSI. We're going to let it be about 1 or so. Now I'm doing this from a long approach. If you're on the battlefield, you try to do it a lot quicker. We're at about 3. We want to put some into that. We don't want to. We're just keep an eye on that VSI. Now if something happens, make that thing go in the positive. Don't worry about it. Keep it positive. Better to have it positive than negative. Because you know if you're climbing, you're not crashing. And see, we're getting a little shimmy here. I'm just increasing my collective. And I went positive. But it's okay. So once she comes, we can readjust, come down. Just give her a little bit more. We're Still moving. Give her a little more collective because I don't want... Now we're getting into that hover. See how she started pulling to the left? We just want to continue to decrease the collective ever so slightly. I would say on a hover like this, probably around 1 to 2. You don't want to give her too much because she'll go into that VRS. We don't want that. So we know our gear's down. We're coming down. We know our guys are down there. We can see them to the right. We're going to give her a little right torque. Increase the collective. Increase the collective. Increase the collective. We're actually going to spin some because we want to see our fellows as they come and get in the helicopter. And we're going to watch. We're going to the left a little bit, so we'll give her a little right on the cyclic. And we're going a little forward, so we'll pull back some. And we're just easing her down. Practice this. Why? Because it makes you better. Alright, now one thing I should have done is I should have set my... That was a little bumpy, but we're down. Set the parking brake. Should have set my anti-dust, but that's okay. So now we're here and we can come in. We can tell our guys to get on board. Embark. Here they come. Like slow-mo embarking. Now turn the controls back on so you can see. Alright, now that they're in, we're going to take the brakes back off. We're going to pull back on the stick. We're going to increase just a little bit to about 3. We're going to find our happy median so we can hover out of here. Keep increasing as we're getting feel for the helicopter. And we're up. Give it more right anti-torque. So we spin because we know the runway is back here. We're going to keep increasing. Some forward momentum, not much, but a little bit. And we're just going to climb out. Keep increasing. Just giving her more collective. You see we're pushing 10, 10 and a half. Or is that 11? 12, I'm sorry. We're pushing 12 on the torque. Climbing out at about 500 feet a minute. That back to about 2. We'll pull our gear up, turn our landing light off, and we're airborne again. So that's a couple of different ways that you can take off and land in the Hind. And the only way that you're ever going to get better at them is just to practice them. Set you up a hot start so you don't have to start this thing up every time. We're going to turn off that because I see my light on. Set you up a hot start. That way you can start this. You don't have to get in and do the start procedure all the time unless you just really like doing that. But if you're trying to learn something, it kind of gets to be a pain in the butt. And learn how to fly it. But like I said, turn these off. Turn those controls off and fly this aircraft. Now, here's the runway over there. I'm going to go on gauges. I'm going to keep that turned off. Start slowing her down. And eventually you can get in there and you'll learn how to spin her around, do a J-hook on a quick, on a field real quick and take, get whatever you got to get, take off and go. But until you practice it slow, you'll never be fast. So just remember, slow is fast. To quote Cosmo. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it taught you some things. I'm just going to come down here. I'm just going to do a short approach. Landing gear, light, coming down. You know what? I think we'll just land on the old taxiway over there. And I know I'm going slow, but I'm still learning this aircraft too. Because like I've said in previous videos, this thing flies like no other helicopter I've ever flown before. It's like a freaking dead weight rock falling. So we're going to come over here, we're going to give her some back pressure, slow down some. Increase in collective because she's just going nuts here, dropping. The key is just to watch that VSI so you're not dropping too much. And once you get the feel for it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And we're just going to come on down. And we'll go outside, and we'll open the doors, we'll let our little buddies out, and now we've got them safely to their point of reference. So hopefully that helped you guys out with takeoff and landings. I think next I'll be doing some weapon tutorials on the aircraft, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. See you guys later.